A heavy feeling in your breathing can be one of the most frustrating experiences because, for many people, the numbers say everything is fine. They go through routine evaluations. They receive reassuring results. And yet, something still feels off. Not severe enough to trigger alarm. Not dramatic enough to explain easily, but enough to make daily life feel different. Many people describe it in similar ways. My chest feels heavy. I can't seem to get a satisfying breath. I feel like I'm breathing, but not comfortably. And perhaps the most confusing part is hearing that nothing abnormal appears on standard tests. Over time, that disconnect can become emotionally exhausting. Some individuals begin to wonder if they're imagining things. Others assume they simply have to live with it. But the absence of obvious abnormalities doesn't necessarily mean the absence of subtle inefficiencies. Because breathing comfort involves much more than the ability to move air in and out of the lungs. And that's where the story becomes more interesting. Most people think breathing is a simple mechanical process. Air goes in, air goes out. But behind that simple action, countless processes are happening simultaneously. Airways need to remain open. Mucus clearance must function efficiently. Inflammatory responses influence bronchial comfort. Circulation inside the lungs helps transport oxygen. Histamine responses affect how the body reacts to environmental triggers. And these factors don't always show up clearly on routine evaluations. Think about driving a car with slightly underinflated tires. The vehicle still runs. Nothing appears broken. Basic inspections might show that everything is functioning normally. But the ride doesn't feel quite right. Efficiency decreases. Extra effort becomes necessary. And over time, you notice the difference. The respiratory system can behave in much the same way. Small inefficiencies may not trigger major abnormalities. Yet together, they can influence how breathing feels. Mild congestion, seasonal irritation, subtle inflammatory responses, reduced airway comfort, changes in circulation. Each factor alone may seem insignificant, but combined, they can create the sensation many people describe as heavy breathing. The real issue isn't always that something is seriously wrong. It's that comfort and function are not always identical. And understanding that distinction changes the conversation. Because normal tests are designed to identify major problems. They are not necessarily designed to explain every sensation or every subtle change in respiratory comfort. This broader perspective helps explain why researchers continue studying the mechanisms involved in maintaining healthy breathing. Natural airway clearance remains an important focus because open airways allow oxygen to move more efficiently. Balanced inflammatory responses contribute to bronchial comfort. Healthy circulation supports oxygen exchange throughout the lungs. And healthy histamine responses help the body adapt to seasonal and environmental changes. This is also why certain plant compounds continue attracting scientific interest. Mullein has traditionally been associated with supporting natural mucus clearance and soothing the respiratory tract. Bromelain has been studied for its role in maintaining balanced inflammatory responses. Maritime pine bark has been investigated for supporting antioxidant activity and healthy circulation. Tiger milk mushroom has generated interest because of its relationship with long-term respiratory vitality. Quercetin has been researched for supporting healthy histamine responses. And stinging nettle has been associated with maintaining clear upper respiratory passages. These ingredients are not typically discussed because they promise dramatic transformations. Instead, researchers are interested in how they may support the systems involved in comfortable breathing. Because breathing comfort often depends on many small factors working together rather than one single cause. And that perspective can bring a great deal of reassurance. The real issue isn't that you're failing to breathe. It's that the body sometimes experiences resistance that standard measurements may not fully capture. Understanding that difference removes a lot of unnecessary fear. Because experiencing discomfort does not automatically mean something catastrophic is happening. Sometimes it simply means the respiratory system could benefit from additional support and attention. And often, those small adjustments in airway health, inflammation balance, circulation, and overall respiratory wellness influence how breathing feels day after day. If you'd like a structured breakdown of the mechanisms and ingredients commonly associated with respiratory wellness, you'll find a practical guide in the description below. And if you enjoy educational videos that focus on understanding the body rather than chasing exaggerated promises, consider subscribing. Because sometimes the most confusing symptoms become easier to understand when we stop asking whether something is broken, and start asking how efficiently the system is actually working.